Hi there. I'm standing between you and cocktails. Like, who did I piss off to get this done? No, I'm just kidding. I am so glad to be here. And when I got the invitation to speak at Women in Product, it was not even a question, because there are not many places I can go and find over 2,000 incredible female leaders in one place. So I am thrilled to be here. And I'm interested to know if any of you are on PagerDuty. Anyone? Anyone? Yes? Got a few people on call? We got to get more product managers on call. Do you know what PagerDuty does for you? It makes sure that you are first to know if something is not working the way it's supposed to in your product before your customers, before their customers, before sales, before your boss, before the press, before angry tweeters. Just think about that for a minute. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. The team here asked me to talk a little bit about my journey and how I ended up here. So I thought I would start from the beginning. These are my parents. This is Evie and Paul. My dad is Filipino. He was raised in New York. My mom was raised in a very small town in Minnesota. They were very hardworking, probably very demonstrative of the middle class Midwestern work ethic. And when I was a kid, and I'm one of 8 children, we were instructed that we all had responsibilities and a role to play in the world. And one of them was to contribute to the community. And we didn't have a lot of money, so you had to contribute your gifts or your talent, or you'd ride in a bike-a-thon. And when I think I was 5 and a half when I rode in my first 50-mile bike-a-thon with the family. And there was an actual expectation that we would lead, that was something that was expected from every child in our family. And not all of us were the same. We have some extroverts and we have some introverts. You can guess which one I am. But I would tell you that there was just no question as to whether or not we would put ourselves in positions where we'd take responsibility, we would be accountable for other people, we would paint a vision, we would engage people in that vision, and we would go. And what I learned from my parents was that, one, life is not fair. And oh, by the way, life is not fair, suck it up. That was the other part of that lesson. But two, that you don't need a title to be a leader. That anybody can lead an organization. And when I think about how, one of the reasons I am here and in a CEO role and playing a board role at an amazing company in Estee Lauder, I think it's because I didn't wait to be asked. I took responsibility, took initiative, was not afraid when someone would say, that thing over there is a flaming mess. That sounds perfect for me. I mean, what a great opportunity to lead, and it's not hotly contested. You can just go dig in and try and make something out of it. Yeah, so that's going to be a theme. They also expected us all to own our destiny. They would say, no one is going to make a way for you. You have to make your way for yourself. And actions shout, words whisper. So if you want success, if you want great things to come to you, you have to make them on your own. And this is advice I give employees and people that I mentor over and over again. That if you wait for someone to design your career for you, if you wait for someone to map out your life for you, you are going to be waiting a long time. You're going to be a spectator in what otherwise could be an incredible adventure. And that's how I think about my own career, the adventure of a lifetime. And this picture is one of my favorite places on earth. This is Whitsunday. This is in the Whitsunday Islands. This is a place called Whitehaven Beach. I got married not far from here on a spit that's only above water about 2 hours of a day. It guarantees a short wedding ceremony, right? And I'm kind of an efficiency geek, so that was one of the reasons I did it. But if you asked me 30 years ago, did I think I'd be getting married on a spit, in the middle of nowhere in Australia, just off an island like this, to an Australian dude from the Northern Territory, which still refuses to be a state in Australia, I would have told you you were crazy. But somehow I ended up in this far corner of the world doing this. I think that is because I'm not afraid of risk. In fact, I embrace risk. If you tell me like a crazy story, if someone starts a sentence with like, hey, I've got this crazy idea. I'm like, I'm in. How do we get going on that thing? And in between jobs, one of my many jobs, I decided to get into offshore yacht racing, and I went to the place where I thought it'd be easiest to learn that, and that's where I met my husband, and hence the adventure that you see here in Whitehaven. But I think the other thing this picture symbolizes is it's a little windy, it's a little messy, there's no path, it's hard to see like where you would enter or exit said island. There's a lot of adventure here, and that's kind of like how I like to do things. And so another lesson I learned along the way was if you want to have an incredible career or an incredible life for that matter, you need to widen your aperture. You need to look farther and wider than maybe conventional wisdom would lead you to think. And by that I mean, think about the career possibility as opposed to the career ladder. Avoid the herd. You know, everybody says, oh, you should do this, and then you should do this, and then after that you should do this. What the universe wants you to do may not be the best thing for you to do, because maybe you're not exactly like everybody else in the universe that came before you. So widen your aperture and be open to different kinds of opportunities, different kinds of roles at different kinds of companies than maybe what conventional wisdom or history or others have told you could be amazing for you. Because the windy path is more interesting than the linear path. Make your career a dynamic journey. And in fact, I would take that one step further. I'm having multiple careers, and you'll see it when you see some of the places that you've worked. I've taken time off between almost every job to travel the world, to get my shit back together, to have family, to take care of people. And every time I did it, someone smarter, wiser, more manly than me said, oh my God, don't sit on the beach. If you sit on the beach, you'll never get picked for a great job. I'm doing okay. I feel good about it. So just to share a little bit about my adventure, I'm a product of the public schools. I went to a state school, the best university in the world, the University of Michigan. Yes? Oh, yeah, go blue, ladies. And I would tell you that if I had to apply to Michigan today, I would not have a hope in hell of getting into that school. So thank you to the nice admissions person who took like pity on me and let me in. Because that opened many doors for me. It helped me, you know, a girl from a small town, it helped me see the world through a very different lens. It's a very diverse community. Michigan is a huge campus. You have so much opportunity. And so that helped me to just sort of see the world in a different way. I went to Procter & Gamble, which is where I learned foundational leadership lessons that still stick with me today. This is a company that invests $250,000 in the first couple of years in developmental leaders. And that's where I learned to build a vision, to engage a team, to manage people, to problem solve. And from there, I moved into the tech industry. I kind of got addicted to this thing called the internet. I thought it might be cool to be involved in it. Yes, I was working during the Y2K period that you heard about earlier. So I was there for almost 5 years when it was hypergrowth, went public, was part of that and led marketing there. And that whole time I was there, I had terrible imposter syndrome. I was convinced that at some point in time, everybody would figure out I had no idea what I was doing and I'd be sent to prison or something. I was exhausted after that job, so I took a year off. That's when I did the yacht racing, met said husband, etc. Accidentally moved to Australia because we put 3 M&Ms in a cup on an airplane and let the stewardess choose where we would live. And I am serious, I did that. And ended up there after the bubble, the internet bubble burst, the dot-bomb era, ended up working at a public telecommunications company called Telecom New Zealand, which is now Spark. That was kind of a slower pace. It wasn't quite the pace of innovation that I expected. It was kind of like working at the post office. And I mean, I imagine working at the post office could be great for some people. It just wasn't for me. And I couldn't figure out how to like diplomatically get out of that job, so I got pregnant. Which is one advantage you have over your male counterparts. So that's, yes, yeah, give it a go. So that's Samantha, who is now 14 and a half and giving me a serious run for her money. Right now, she'd be saying, Mom, like, that's not that funny. I then did a contract COO role for a high-end hospitality company called Maryvale, where I would have to work until like 4 o'clock in the morning and see VIPs, et cetera. And it sounded really cool at the time, except I can't stay awake past like 9 p.m. So I had to give that up, went back into tech, worked for Mincom, and worked for somebody who said, you've got a great mind for product. You should own product. And I said, okay, I'll do that, because I had done sales, marketing, I'd had bits and pieces of product roles, but I had never had responsibility for the entire product portfolio. And with it, he gave me strategy, M&A, and then everything else that no one else wanted to do started turning up on my desk. And the next thing you know, I was the number 2 in that company. And we were, I don't know, close to 1,000 employees. And I joined right as the credit crash happened in 2008. So my first day of work, one of our customers asked for like $19 million back. And it seemed like it was going to be a shit show. And it was some of the most fun I have ever had in my life, because the expectations were not high. The market was in complete tumultuous disaster. My customers were, this was enterprise asset management, so my customers were oil and gas, mining, public defense, et cetera. So I would go to places like the Congo for meetings. And so I got to see the world, but I also got to solve these big, bulky problems. And it was there I realized that leading product, if you run it like a general manager, is a great path to becoming CEO. And one of the things that I did while I was leading product at Mincom was to convince our organization and our board and my team that they should run their product lines like P&Ls. And if you walk away with nothing else today, I want you to think about that. If you were to try and fully load your product organization with the P&L they're responsible for, even though they don't manage the salespeople that sell, and you don't own the finance people that count the dollars, and you won't be able to get everything perfect, but everybody starts thinking like they're a P&L leader, you will see a very different kind of outcome, because people start acting like owners. The other thing that was great about it is it's hard to get P&L experience, because in most businesses, there are only a handful of P&Ls to run, and only one person actually runs them. So you can use product as a way to create a P&L for yourself to get some of that experience. Oh, I should probably go back and finish the rest of this. But that was where I really started to realize this kind of broad general management, seeing the whole picture from finance to customer success to sales, marketing, product, et cetera, was interesting to me, and that I was at my best when I could see the whole thing holistically. I also love my job being a number 2, and one night in a bar, the CEO sat me down and said, "Why aren't you a CEO?" And I was like, "Because I'm really good at this job. I like this job." And he said, "Yeah, actually, you're an idiot." And I was like, wow, how many beers did I have? He says, "You're an idiot because you're doing all the work and I'm getting all the credit. Why aren't you looking for a CEO job?" And I was like, "Because I'm good at this. I got a busy husband. I got that baby. Like, I don't know when I would find time." And to be honest, I liked delegating the big problems up. Like, I'll run most of the stuff, but when the shit's really hitting the fan, it's all you, man. I'm going to bed. And he said, "But you're like such an owner, you never do that. Like, you're right there with me all the time." So afterwards, next day, I'm like, that talk we had, that was really nice. Thanks very much. I'm going back to work. And he felt so strongly about it, he started putting my name in the hat when he would get calls. And that was how I got introduced to my first CEO opportunity. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't easy. It was basically like, "Hey, we're a private equity firm. We're thinking about maybe buying this company. And if we actually can get the deal done, you could maybe be the CEO if while we're trying to buy the company, we decide we like you." So it was like audition by fire, and it turned out good. That was my first CEO job, happened that way. And I got discounted for being young. I got discounted for probably being a woman. I got discounted for it being my first time CEO. I think I was paid about, 30% below the industry median. And that all seemed perfectly acceptable to me because I was basically experimenting on their dime. But that's how I got my CEO training wheels on. And it went pretty good. We got acquired, and afterwards I took some more time off. This time I went to Greece and Italy and did a bunch of stuff. But I decided I want to get back into growth. I want to go back into high growth. And I looked at 51 companies and picked the company where I felt the culture was a good fit, the product had platform-esque characteristics, where I felt like I could use the company as a platform to change the way the tech industry works. And that's where PagerDuty came into play. And somewhere along the line, somebody thought, this woman who doesn't even know how to put on her own makeup would be great on the Estee Lauder board. So I do that too. When I do put on makeup, it happens in the car. And it isn't usually pretty. My point in all of this was I spent the 90s and most of the early 2000s in pantsuits because I was trying to assimilate to the people around me. And it wasn't until probably the last 10 years that I realized I am a better version of a leader when I am the most honest, authentic, what you see is what you get version of me. And so now when you see me on stages, I'm always in a dress, always in heels. There's no one else in my company usually in a dress and heels. I mean, when I joined, I brought up the average age by like 5 years and was definitely the only person in a dress, not wearing a hoodie. But I think it's important because the amount of emotional energy you have to spend to try and be one person at work and one person at home with your family is insane, it's inefficient, and you need all that emotional energy for the people who are looking to you to lead them. So that was a really important lesson for me. The other lesson was that product is pivotal. Now you look at these people, I was speaking at TechCrunch a few weeks ago, these are all friends of mine, and the one thing we all have in common is we all led product before we became CEOs. Yeah. I'm not smart enough to be a founder, so I have to find things, refine them, and then I'm like a great adoptive parent. But I think, so for those of you who think there isn't a path, I want you to think differently. Because actually, when you run product, you are the CEO of that product. You are the GM of that market. But you have to do all the things Amanda said you should do as a good PM. And you need to start thinking about how would I convert those skills if I was thinking on behalf of the company instead of on behalf of the product. So lesson number 4, how do you go from PM to GM? I think 1, treat it like a P&L. 2, think on behalf of the company instead of just on behalf of the product. And 3, try and get in front of what your customers need from you, right? Because customers will tell you what they need. That's what you should have built 2 years ago. Think about where the customer's world is going and try and get in front of their unarticulated needs. So I just wanted to wrap up with a couple of key takeaways because I'm overtime and the clock stopped running, so I have no idea how long overtime I am. I could go for hours until they bring me off of the hook, but again, standing between you and cocktails. So I think of myself as a plate spinner. There's always something going, I'm never getting it all right, et cetera. And I have perfect girl syndrome. I was the kid in the family that never wanted to let anybody down, that wanted to take care of everybody. I'm still very responsible, almost to a fault. But what I've learned is you're never gonna keep all the plates spinning at the same time, and you've gotta decide which ones are the most important. Don't let perfect spoil good, but prioritize the things that matter to you most. So plate number 1 for me is my family. That's Michael and Sam. Me. I was thinking in New York, I worked like a 15-hour day and they went to a show. It was great. Your health. So I had to have emergency back surgery in December last year, the day we filed for our IPO. I would not recommend that. We had to wait until I came to and was compos mentis to sign the damn thing. And I ran myself into the ground, basically, because like my body is ergonomically perfected for an airline chair. So now I get up in the morning and I start my day a little later and I walk and I do the things that I need to do so that I don't get into that place anymore. And then the last thing is my customers and employees, because I really believe after years of testing and experimenting that if you get it right for your customers and your employees, everything else will fall into place. If you start focusing on your shareholders or your board or somebody else, your priorities are gonna fall out of whack. And then the other thing I would say is that self-awareness really matters. So being a really responsible person who likes to perfect things, I used to take myself really, really seriously. This is my team's favorite picture from the IPO. That's Paigey, our mascot, googly eyes in the background, during my CNBC, Squawk Alley spot, with the headline, "The Cyber Threat." I mean, we were at the New York Stock Exchange all day, and this is their favorite picture. And 10 years ago, I would have been pissed off and insulted by that. But now I'm like, that's pretty funny. Don't take yourself too seriously. Be honest, be intellectually honest with yourself about what you do well and what you don't do well. And make sure you shore up those gaps that you have with people who are amazing at the things that you don't do well, right? And everybody's got a little ego, everybody makes mistakes, but be self-aware enough that you can be vulnerable with your team. Because I think when we're all trying to be perfect and awesome at everything, you can make it really uncomfortable for another person to be their best version of themselves as well. And then last, surround yourself by great people. So, a quick plug, and this was mentioned a little earlier. What PagerDuty was as our co-founder describes it, was pretty much dudes from Waterloo when I got there. And I really set out to prove that you could build a richly diverse company that got outsized results because of the inclusive leadership in our culture and our people. And as a result, almost half of our management roles are held by women. Our leadership team is gender balanced. Over 60% of the team was born outside the US. Our board is balanced. And we're sending a signal to the rest of the industry that not only is it possible, it's necessary. I believe it's a business imperative to build and it is. Thank you. And we've had to do a lot of work to make this happen. Like we've had to open offices in places that other people might not think are attractive places to run a software company from. We look to create access for people who want careers in the tech industry instead of just find diverse pipelines. I insist, and my team, obliges, that every final slate, for candidate slate in our company will be balanced before we will choose the final candidate, right? But most of all, if you want to have a richly diverse, inclusive organization, then there better be people in that company that your candidates and your employees resonate with when they get there. So you also can choose. You should work for companies where you see people who you resonate with, right? You don't have to fight an uphill battle everywhere. There are increasingly more female CEOs running around, female product leaders, female CTOs. Look for them. And help kind of build the power within those organizations. So surround yourself with great people. Also, do something you love. Like PagerDuty, it took them 8 phone calls to get me to even come for a breakfast because it sounded so stupid. I'm like, this pagers? You bringing pagers back? Seriously? And then I realized that it's actually a platform that manages unplanned, unstructured, mission-critical work. And more of the work in the world is shifting to that definition. And it's a platform that empowers people in a very empathetic way to do their best possible work in the moments that matter. I love my job. That makes my job really easy. I love the people I work with. It makes my job really fun. My family is a part of my company. I mean, I've totally integrated work and life because balancing was just never going to happen. So do something that you love because it takes a lot of friction out of all the other issues that go around it. And then finally, don't be afraid of the most adventurous, crazy thing that someone puts in front of you. Don't be afraid of a mess. Don't be afraid to work for a company nobody ever heard of. Don't be afraid to work with people you never met before. Think of your career as an adventure and be bold and go show the world what you can do. Because you never know, you may end up here doing something like this one day. Have a great day and enjoy your cocktails. Thank you.